All right. Let me send out the Discord massage. I should have had it opened already. My bad. All right. Making a chatbot. You know what? Yeah, that'd be fine. Okay. Throw that over there. Throw this over here. Increase the size of the text so people can actually read what I'm doing. I think that's fine. Let me close that, throw that into performance. You can be lined out, you can be lined out. Okay. I think we're good. All right. So we're gonna be working on StoneBot. And it does need a little bit of a refactor, but we're going to ignore that fact for today. And we're going to do something that may or may not be actually entertaining. We are definitely going to work on UI stuff today. Because I think a good chunk of like the back-end type stuff is pretty much done. There's still like one major thing that I got to do. And then probably a couple of little things, but we do have to make a UI for the stuff to make it easy to interact with. So let me switch over to my screen. What does that look like? I forgot how I set this up. Okay. I'm gonna maybe make my face a little bit smaller here. If I crop the left side of my, there we go. Okay. Now there's not like a bunch of random space showing nothing. All right, cool. So, I've got some background music going. Let me know if it's like too loud or too quiet. I don't have too much music. I think it's like 10-ish minutes in total. That's just looping. So like if it gets repetitive, then let me know. If you have like a non-copyright background music that's chill, and we can use that. It'll be cool. The music that I'm using right now was made by my brother, which is kind of cool. I should probably set up a thing so that you can have access to the music that I'm listening to. But let me show you what I want to do. So this is already in debug. You know what? Let me throw up StoneBot, the old version of StoneBot. I don't remember where it is, so I'm gonna search around for a second here. Should just be in program. Okay. Yeah, so this is the old version of StoneBot. I'm gonna launch it right now. You're gonna see in the chat that it immediately pops in. You're gonna see a bunch of logs here, which is basically just setting everything up and doing whatever it needs to do. This is what it currently looks like. And I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan. I thought it was going to be a good idea to have like all of the logs right there and ready so that, you know, if an error ever happens, then it's like, boom, you know immediately what went wrong. But the design idea for, or like the, I guess the design for the new version is that, well, it shouldn't really fail. If something does go wrong, then, you know, it should try its best to recover. And if it absolutely can't, then, you know, that must have meant that something catastrophic happened. So, the idea with the new one is that we're just going to get rid of this tab here, the logs tab, altogether. Because if everything is going correctly, then you don't really need this. Now, we are going to keep logging in general, for sure, because, like, it's really helpful for debugging stuff. But, yeah, we don't need this in the UI. The commands tab, this was, like, kind of interesting. But you can, like, enable and disable commands by using the buttons over here. You can like edit who is allowed to use the command, and you can change the delay. So like nobody can spam the command. Same with messages, except these aren't like commands. These are just message patterns. So like for iHype, if your message contains literally just the letter I, then it will respond to you. Actually, let me see if I can do that. Yeah, there we go. I actually have to, well, I'll do it in the new version, but like I should change that so that it uses the actual emote. Anyway, so that's what those do. Timers, I've just got the quote timer. I'm pretty sure this is seconds, and the use delay is milliseconds, which is probably information that I should have in the UI, right? Like, this is not very good design. But I just threw it in there real quick. The other thing is that this UI uses Godot or Godot, however you want to pronounce it, which is a game engine, and the only reason I'm using it is because it's really easy to make UIs. At least I've found it like super intuitive to make. But for something like this, it's obviously not ideal, because this is just a chatbot. It's meant to be relatively lightweight, so I don't need an entire game engine, you know, run in the background. It's also got this files button here. You can click on this, and it'll take you to the log files, and then you can open this up and see a bunch of stuff. Interesting. Okay. I don't think I've seen that before, but that seems like a Godot thing. So, yeah, that shouldn't be an issue in the new version. But yeah, and then also like the fact that you have to switch between these tabs is like, I don't know. It's not bad depending on like how many of these you have set up. But I feel like it would be better to have like a search bar, and you could just search for all of your stuff, and then all of the search results would just show in one place, and you wouldn't have to switch between tabs here. So the other thing about this version is that, like I pointed out, as soon as I launched it, Stonebot connected to the chat, which is fine. But if I ever want to like configure the commands, or like add a new one, or whatever, well, I can't actually add a new one because all of the commands are hard coded. That's another thing that I address. But I lost my train of thought. Oh, connecting automatically. So I don't want it to connect automatically, so that if I want to, I can go in and configure the commands and everything else. And so that's a major thing that's changing. And I think that's everything that I wanted to go over. So I'll go ahead and close that. And the other thing that happens is that it automatically, you can see the logging off message, it automatically disconnects when you close it. Which that part is okay, but I kind of want the ability to disconnect whenever I want, instead of having to shut down the application in order to get it to disconnect. So those are just a few of the major things that are changing. I think we're getting an ad though, so I might wait a couple of seconds to explain the new version. Actually, I might go blow my nose real quick. Yeah, ad break for the next minute. I'm gonna go grab some tissues because I got something in my nose. I'll be right back. All right. We're back. Ads are almost done. All right. I might have to blow my nose again sometime. I think it's fine for now. All right. Now that we're back from ads. Let me show you what I'm working with right now. So I've got so the first major change is that I'm not using Godot anymore. I'm using it's all in C#.net using Avalonia. So Avalonia is like I don't know exactly the term. It's like a UI framework, but I don't know if framework is technically the right word. But I'm using that to render UI stuff. And that way you can see I can just easily write lines like margin equals 10. And then it knows what to do with that. And then I've also got it set up so that it's got these four, it's kind of hard to see, but there are four different like build modes, or what are they called? Configurations. Debug console, release, and release console. And so the console versions, I'll show you if I launch it here. It'll pop up this window. Where's my, okay, so here's the new UI, and I'll go over that in just a second. But the console configuration pops up a console, and so I keep clicking. And so all of the logs that would normally get put into a file also get printed out to this console. That way I don't have to like open up a new log file every single time I want to look at the logs. I can just see it here. Close out of that. And then debug is just debug mode, but without the console. So I can launch that. You can see no console window pops up, but Stonebot should pop up here. There it is. And obviously this is debug mode, so like it's a little bit slow. If I throw it into release, It should, in theory, be faster. Okay, yeah. Okay. So now let's go over some of the UI components here. So my face is hiding. Why is my chat like all the way down there? Hang on. Oh, because it's like it like rises up to the thing. Okay, that's fine. So I'll move my camera here. So that I'm just hiding a button. And I'll click on that button and show you what it does. But that's all I'm hiding. So the first thing you'll notice is that there was no like connection message or disconnect message, and that's because by default Stonebot does not connect and or disconnect. And you can see there's a connect button here that I can press, and now it's connected. And then I can press it again and it'll disconnect. If you're connected and you close the application, it will also automatically disconnect you before it actually closes. So that's a cool thing. The other thing you'll notice is that there's this broadcaster and this chatter, these buttons. And so one of the main reasons why I decided to create my own chatbot instead of using, existing libraries or, existing other chatbots like Nightbot or something, is because I wanted to make a Twitch account specifically for the bot. And I wanted the bot to have its own Twitch account and use its own username. Because basically every single tool that I could find to make a chatbot, it was either you use like the company's name or like the company's bot account, right? Like Nightbot. Nightbot will just use the Nightbot account to talk in your chat. Or it would use your account, so like the broadcaster's account, which I which I didn't like because, it's not me that's saying that. It's some bot that's just using my username, which to me didn't feel right, and I didn't like that. And so I wanted to have the ability to set up my own dedicated bot account and just use that. And so these two accounts are completely configurable. So if I like click on this, so I'll get this pop-up that says, would you like to remove the cache authorization? And basically what this does is it will, actually I should explain first. So I'm going to close this, I'm going to reopen it. When I reopen it, pay attention to these two buttons. You might have already noticed it, but I just want to point it out. Let me throw it into debug. But watch out for those buttons. So you see there's the three dots, and then they turn into the usernames. That's because these values are not hard-coded. So it stores enough information to be able to automatically reconnect to whatever account you authorized. And so I can get into that in a little bit, but basically what that means is there's some cached data associated with each of these accounts so that it can automatically connect when you boot it up. And so by clicking on this, it just asks you, are you sure you want to remove that cache? And doing that will just like edit the file on your computer that stores that information. And it doesn't actually like completely disconnect the bot. So if you click on this link, it showed up on my other screen. I'll pull it over real quick. So I'll throw it up over here. So you can see I've got Stonebot Chatter and Stonebot Broadcaster connected. And these are basically like all of the applications that I've approved can interact with my Twitch. And each of them come with their different, like, what do you call it? There are different permissions. And you can look at the permissions. And I might show that in a second. But point is, like, if you want to fully disconnect your account from Stonebot, this is where you would have to go. And you can just click the disconnect button. All right. So you know what? I'll click OK. And so then it'll say click to authorize. So if you're in this situation where one of these two or both of them aren't authorized yet and you try and connect, the button will light up red telling you that you actually have to, authorize. So if you do click this button, I say please authorize in your browser, and another page showed up, which I can show over here. So here's the list of everything that I'm allowing Stonebot to do. If I just click the authorize button, it'll show me this page. Successful. I can close the tab. And then if I close it, you can see now it's got my username in the broadcaster section. And then you can just do the same process, except because it uses two different accounts, you're going to have to log in to the appropriate account. Otherwise, it'll, again, just use the same account for both. But yeah. So just make sure you log into the correct account for each of these sections. And I don't know if I've actually tested it, but I'm pretty sure it should work if you use one account for both of these. So, like, if you did want to use the same account, you know, your broadcaster account for both the broadcaster and the chatter, then you should be able to do that, no problem. All right. And there are error messages that pop up if any of that stuff fails. Like if you cancel, you know what, I can show that actually. I'll click to authorize. And then if I go over here and I hit cancel, it'll say authorization failed. It didn't contain an authorization code because the authorization code is the whole point. That's why I have to do this authorization process. See logs for more details, and then you can close the tab. So you can see that we see the error that actually showed up. Response did not contain an authorization code. And the bot can't tell that you hit the cancel button because there's like, it doesn't test for that, and maybe it should, but it just tries to get the authorization code. And if there isn't one, like if you cancel, then it just doesn't worry about it. So let me authorize it again so it'll actually be there. There we go. You can also obviously just hit the cancel button here and it'll also cancel. It won't like close the tab. It won't close the browser tab that it gets opened because it just doesn't have access to your browser like that. But yeah, you can just cancel from there. All right. So now, also if you're connected and you do this, it'll disconnect you. Also, let me do this. Okay. All right. Last thing is the configuration tab, which is the button that I'm currently hiding behind my face cam. So if you click on that, it'll take you to this configuration page, which is brand new. This didn't exist in the previous version. And let me actually move my face cam again because I'm hiding the cancel and the save button. I'll go over those in just a second. So broadcaster client ID, broadcaster client secret, chatter client ID, chatter client secret. So each of these settings has a little question mark next to it. You can click on that and it'll show you a pop-up. And oh, I still have it pointed to my GitHub. Okay, that's fine. But in theory, so this version of Stonebot is the same GitHub page or same GitHub repo, but it's just on a different branch. So like the current main branch is still has the old README. And that's weird that it didn't work. I had to hit the refresh button. But yeah, so like here's the current README, and it tells you how to set up like the 2 different Twitch accounts. Again, this is old. You don't have to manually edit the configuration file. You can do it through the UI. Authorization again is like almost entirely automated now. Although this is like a similar process, I think. And then all of the emotes that it uses, you don't have to worry about those anymore because the commands are not hard-coded. So you can have whatever emotes you want. But I'll click on this. I'll keep it off screen here for a second because I don't remember what exactly it shows. Okay. So this will take you to your dev console, which mine looks like this. So I've got the bot chatter and the bot broadcaster. And so you can hit this register your application button. You can go through the process twice, one for a chatter, one for a broadcaster. And then it'll give you an ID and a secret, and you can just copy and paste those into these fields. And these fields are always like censored, so you don't ever have to worry about accidentally showing this stuff. There's not even like sometimes with these kind of fields there's like a toggle button that you can click to show it, but I don't really see a reason to toggle it, given that you can just copy it. It should just be a copy and paste. Like there's no reason for you to manually type this in, so I don't really see a reason for you to have to show it. And then there's some more advanced stuff. So like the authorization port. So I'll hit cancel here. So like the page that it brings you, when you click the authorize button, it'll take you to like, so it'll have your authorization code in the URL, which you don't need to pay attention to that. But like this is this 27043, that's the authorization port that this is referring to. And so by default, you shouldn't have to mess with it, but like for whatever reason, if that port is busy, then you can change it to something else and still authorize. Did I? Yeah, okay, I did. Max log files. So, did I show the logs? Oops. I have not shown the logs. Okay. So if I click on this question and click on the link here, it'll actually open up my file browser. And so you can see I've got 5 log files here. Click on this one. Yeah, you can see this error code that happened earlier. And so every time that you launch Stonebot, it'll create a new log file. And so this max log files just means that if it creates an additional one, it'll delete the oldest one. And so you always have the 5 most recent log files. Connect timeout seconds. So like if you hit the connect button and it takes 5 seconds to connect, then it'll just consider it a failed attempt and it'll, throw a warning at you. Keep alive timeout seconds. This is a little bit more complicated, but when the bot is connected, it will like occasionally receive a message from Twitch. If no other, so like if your chat is really quiet and there are no messages coming in, Twitch will occasionally ping you and be like, hey, you know, I'm still here. I'm still willing to send you messages. I just haven't yet. And so it'll do it this often. It'll do it every 10 seconds. Keep alive timeout margin seconds just means that if you don't receive this keep alive message, so like if 10 seconds go by and you don't receive a keep alive message, then wait an additional 5 seconds, and if you still don't receive anything, then consider the connection dead. You know, something went wrong, the internet went out, whatever. Just do what you can to disconnect, right? All right. And then obviously the save and cancel button. So if you do make a change, so like if I set this max log files to 10, yeah, let's do 10, and then hit cancel, and then I go back in, you can see it did not save. If I up it to 10 and then hit save, and go back in, now it's 10. But I do actually want that to be 5, so I'll do that. And yeah, that's about it. So if you do end up changing these values, any of these values, it will automatically like disconnect or like remove the cache authorization information that it has, because these are like these values are directly tied to the authorization. So let me go back up here. All right. And that's about it. So that's all we have for now. It does have the ability to like have commands, but there's no UI for it. Excuse me. And I'll show you sort of what that looks like. Oh, there were ads going. Oh, I'm dumb. Okay. Hang on. Let me show you what I did during the ad. I don't remember if I showed it or not. But like, so I just showed the cancel and the save button. Let me move my camera. So if I change max log files to like 10 and hit cancel and then go back in here, you can see it did not save it. If I change it to 10 and then hit save and then go back in, it's still 10 now. Now if I go back down to 5 because I want it at 5, hit save. Yeah, now it's at 5 again. And then the other thing that I mentioned is if you change any of these 4 values, the IDs or the secrets, it will automatically remove the cached authorization data for you. Because that information is, the ID and the secret are directly tied to like the authorization required. All right. So executing commands. So the back end for this has been basically all put together. The way that it works now is that instead of commands being hard coded, you create scripts, and the scripts are in Python, and I'm using a package called IronPython to execute the scripts in like the sort of .NET environment. I don't think that's like a super accurate way of phrasing that, but let me open up this. So like this is the interface. This is a script interface. So it takes in as one parameter the all the data associated with the chat message. It also gives you the permission level of the user that typed the chat message. So if I open up that enum, you can see it's just viewer, VIP, tier 1, 2, 3, subscriber, moderator, and broadcaster. And so this is like the order, the hierarchy, right? The viewer is like the most basic, and the broadcaster can do literally everything. And then yeah, this is just a helper function to get a user's highest permission level. Where was I? Script interface, that's right. So you've got all the message data, you've got the chatter permission, and then you've got some functions that you can use in your script. So log just uses like Stonebot's logging features, which will send the log to both the console if you're in the console configuration, and it'll send it to the log file, as opposed to like print, which, because it's a Python script being run from within Stonebot, print doesn't do anything. So I've got these things, these log warn, and log error. Log warn and log error don't really do anything different than log, other than which one had, here we go. Other than like this text here, error. So it'll say info if it's just a regular log, it'll say warn if it's log warn, and it'll say error if it's log error. And that's just to make it easy to search. So if I want to find all the errors, I can just, Command F error. But obviously the log file isn't that big yet, because I've only added logs that produce like warnings or errors. So there's not a whole lot going on in the log file yet. It only gets mad when something goes wrong. It doesn't tell me anything that goes right. But yeah, and then you can send a chat message using this chat function. You can also do replies by taking in the ID of some other message, which is pretty cool. And then you've got these other functions, get, set, and delete. Okay, well, I'll go over all of them. So basically there's this system where you can save and read data between scripts. So you don't have to write information to a file. So let's take the quote system, for example. So the way that my quote system works is that a moderator can type !add quote, and then they can type out a quote. And it'll get added to a list of a bunch of quotes that I've said. And then every so often, Stonebot will read from that list and put it in chat and be like, hey, here's a random thing that Stone said. And so this get, set, delete, all of these functions are relating to something like that. So you can basically just give it a key and a value. So it's basically just a giant dictionary. And it will assign that data. And then from a completely different script, you can read that data by just calling get. If for whatever reason you're running into performance issues, which there are very niche cases in which that would happen, you can use this set without saving function. So set by default will save data to a file on your computer. And I can actually show you real quick. So this is just the test script that I've been using, but custom data.json is where it would normally save your data. And so because it writes data to a file, that can be relatively slow. But again, it shouldn't be an issue. But just in case it is, you can set data without saving it to a file, and then later on you can save it to a file. And you can just have a little bit more control over what gets actually saved to disk. And then delete just obviously gets rid of whatever data. Delete without saving, same thing. Has just returns a Boolean as to whether or not it has certain data. And that's about it. So that's the interface that you get to use. So like I kind of showed before, so this is my test script. Again, it's a Python file. And you can see that I've got like stonebot.chat. So if I go over here, that was this function. Chat takes in a string and an optional string of the ID of the message you want to reply to, which in this case is the original message ID. So you can see message data.message ID comes from this message data. And then you can just get the message ID. Drop reason will not be none if for whatever reason like the message came through, or like the chat message came through but there was some issue actually like giving you the data. So I just checked to see if that's the case and, you know, log some information based on that. Oh, that's the other thing I should mention about these log functions is that they take in this params keyword basically means that you can give it as many parameters as you want and it'll just automatically put them all into a list of objects. Excuse me. So I can do something like this where I give it a string. Argument 1 is a string, argument 2 is whatever this code is, and argument 3 is whatever this message is, and it'll print all of those out, or it'll put all of those in the log file and just separate them by like a pipe character. So yeah, then I log out the chatter's permission. Test data, I get something called test. Thank you. All right, I will hydrate again. Thank you for redeeming no reset run. Although I'm not doing any kind of run today, so. I don't know. Can I like refund your points? Report. Yes, you can refund. I have to find the button to actually do that. Because I'm not seeing it. Channel points reward queue. Manage reward request. No reset run. Reject. Did that work? Did it give you your points back? Interesting. You do test runs of Stonebot. Well, we're gonna do those anyway, so you can have your 1,000 points back. Okay, cool. It worked. All right. So I may or may not have to go back over what I've already explained for the past half an hour, but so where I left off. So we've got. You know what? I can zoom in on this actually. Probably better to do that. There we go. That's fine. So just log out the chatter's permission. So we're testing to see if this like test object exists in the data. If it does, we log it out. Then we set the value to hello world. And again, this is just like literally whatever you want. So in the interface over here, this set takes in a string as a key and just like anything as a value. So this could be a string, it could be another object, it could be an array, whatever. And then it gets it back out and logs it, and then it deletes it, tries to get it, and logs it. So if I go ahead and hit the run button, I should be able to type into chat !test. Oh, I actually have to hit the connect button. Hang on. Just let me do that. Let me try that again. There we go. So now we get StoneBot. So the old StoneBot is the one with the quotes. The new version of StoneBot does not have the quote stuff set up yet. So the old version of StoneBot is not running because it may or may not get weird if both of them are running at the same time. So I just only have the new one. But you can see it responded to me with hello world, which we can see is this line right here. So we just send a chat message containing the message hello world, and we are responding to whatever message had initially prompted the command. I do have it set up so that it is it only allows me to use the command, and that is entirely configurable through this file, which I'm going to change so that you can actually mess with it from within the UI. But if I close out of this, I can change this to a 5. Let me save that and then relaunch it. This is another thing, is that I want to be able to not have to like relaunch the program, but that's like for a future thing. So now let me connect. Okay, now try doing it. Because you're a moderator, it should let you. And if it doesn't work, I might cry. Because I haven't tested it. Hey, there we go. Nice. Yeah, it doesn't check anything after the command. I think it splits it by white space, if I remember correctly. Hang on, let me stop it real quick. Chat message handler. Is it WebSocket client that determines if it is a command or not? So this is the notification, handle chat message. Okay, so it checks to see if it starts with an exclamation point, and then try use command does what with it? Get command keyword. Okay, yeah, I guess it just... It looks at everything after the exclamation point, and if it ever finds a character that's not a letter, then it cuts it there. Is there not a better way to do that? This looks weird to me, but whatever. I guess that's what it does. It just looks for letters until it finds something that's not a letter. And then the other feature that I added, you might notice, it's not running currently, so you can't actually do anything. But yeah, it did correctly clock that you're a moderator. There was no test data to start out with, then there was, and then there wasn't, which we can see because custom data starts out as empty. So when it does this log, it should be empty, and then it sets it to hello world, and then it should print hello world, and then it deletes it, and then it prints it again. So we can see that shows up properly. There was initially nothing, then it got set to hello world, and then it got deleted. And that happened twice. So cool. looks like everything's working. So you might notice that the other thing I set up are aliases. So if I run this again, in addition to, oops, oh, come on, connect, there we go. In addition to being able to type !test, you should also be able to type !debug, and it should do exactly the same thing. Which I think is pretty cool, because then you can have, yeah, there you go. And then if we look at the logs, yeah, same thing here. Just testing it in real time. I do actually appreciate this, because like some of this stuff I didn't even think to test. Yo, what's up, Literate? That's funny that your chat message showed up here. I forgot I added that part. We are testing the chatbot. But yeah, sort of as I explained earlier, I think before anybody was here, I've got 4 different configurations set up. I've got a debug console, a release, and a release console. So like, if you want the logs to be printed out to the console, you can do that. Otherwise, they're all going to show up inside of this file. But if opening up a file is annoying, then it'll just print out to the console. Debug, Literate GD, debug, yo, what's up, Literate? Yeah, pretty cool. Excuse me. Oh, I guess it does not consider that. No, it does. It does consider that to be a letter, because if that was not a letter, it would have responded to you. Interesting. Interesting. But yeah, it looks like ads are running right now, so I'll take a second. But how's it going? This may or may not be an entertaining stream, but I thought it'd be cool to just explain everything that I'm working on at the very least. I realize I asked that question specifically because I'm waiting for the ad break to get over. So it might not have come through. But alright. Twitch is telling me that you're back, so I will believe that. But yeah, so we've got aliases now. So instead of just having like !Discord, I can have like !DC, and then it'll do exactly the same thing as !Discord would do, right? So I don't have to like code up a bunch of different, I don't have to make a bunch of different scripts that all do the same thing. I can just say that a command has certain aliases, and then you can use a bunch of different keywords all to do the same thing. And then obviously you can set whether or not it's enabled, the permission level. So 6. So I showed these earlier, I think. Let me actually close this. What if cooldown is negative? Let me show you what I was doing real quick. And then I'll answer that. So 6 is broadcaster, moderator, tier 3 sub, 2, 1, VIP, and viewer. So that's like the order in which you're allowed to do certain things. So anything that a viewer can do, everybody can view. Anything that a moderator can do, only a moderator and the broadcaster are allowed to do. So it's like anything if you set the permission level to like tier 1 sub, then everybody that's tier 1 sub and above can also do that thing. I considered setting like very specific permissions so that you could be like only tier 1 subscribers and tier 3 subscribers can use a thing. But like, nah. You know? I don't really feel like that seems like a bit much. So what if the cooldown is negative? That's a good question because I don't think that I do anything special in that case. Cooldown milliseconds, because I'm pretty sure the way that I do it, yeah. So I just calculate the last time that it procced. Yeah, so I just add the number of milliseconds. So if the cooldown milliseconds is negative, then it's effectively the same as setting cooldown milliseconds to 0. Because then you'll just always be able to do whatever. I think Stone Bot is more appropriate of a name with a capital B. Maybe. I kind of prefer the lowercase bot. But yeah, when I create the UI stuff, so like, actually I've got a mock-up that I can show you, but you can see a lot of the space is empty, because I haven't added that UI, but I'm planning on adding it so that in the UI you can't enter a negative number. Obviously, if you really wanted to, you could just open up this file and manually put in here whatever you want. But like, if you're gonna go opening up files and manually editing configurations, then that it's your own fault if something bad happens, you know? Stone Bot, lowercase s, uppercase B. Genius. But yeah, so currently the way that the commands work is it just looks in this command manager file for all of this stuff. And it'll look in a particular folder. So like, when you first run StoneBot, it'll automatically create this folder in your app data directory, where it'll store everything. Cache.json is where it stores like stuff to authorize you. Command manager is what I have open. Config is where it stores everything that's on this screen, which I don't think I showed this off before anybody showed up. I think maybe I don't remember if you guys have seen this. And then custom data. So in the scripts folder, commands folder, so everything in the command manager JSON, so you can see there's this name test, so it'll search this directory for a file that matches the name. So it'll search for test.py, and if I change this to whatever, then it'll look for a file called whatever.py, and if it does not find it, then it just won't, it'll ignore it basically. So that's how that works. Obviously in the UI, I'm gonna have a button where you can add a command, and then it's gonna automatically edit this file and add your test, or not your test, but add your new script. That way you don't have to worry about like manually adding the thing to this file and also creating a script that matches the name, yada yada. That'll all be editable in the UI. I really want to make a new logo for StoneBot, but also I don't even know what design choices are intentional, so I can't as easily iterate on it. So yeah, this is just something that I made real quick. It's based on the Twitch logo, obviously, with the message box. Actually, I should have the file. on, let me close out of this. I might be able to show it in a larger view. Logo, is it gonna like, oh, interesting. I didn't even know you could do this, but yeah, there we go. But yeah, like this is my version of the orange, where it's like that, what is it, FF6900, I think is the color for it. The blue, I don't remember why I picked blue, but it's blue. He's got glowing eyes and a glowing mouth. And then, yeah, just the speech bubble is based on the Twitch logo. So those are the design choices. If you want to make a new logo, go for it. I don't really have any size requirements. I don't even remember how big this one is. Does it say 64 by 64? Okay. It doesn't have to be 64 by 64, but yeah. I do need both a PNG and an ICO file if you want me to use it. All right, so back to the scripts. The other thing is that you can see I have this nice highlighting. You know, the functions are yellow. The word StoneBot here is green. And, you know, it doesn't throw any errors at me. The reason that it does that is because I have Python installed. I currently have Python 3.13.5 installed, which gives me some of the syntax highlighting. Type hints, though. So, like, the way that it works is that it, what's the word? It injects the interface into the script and then runs it. Which means that if you're just like editing it in an IDE or a text editor or whatever, and you know, let's just say we remove this, we're gonna get all these errors, right? Because the Python version that I have installed, it doesn't like know what StoneBot is. It doesn't know that it's eventually going to be injected before the script gets run, right? It just thinks, oh, this is a word that I've never seen this thing before, so I don't know. Which is why I've created this StoneBot directory with this init.pyi file. And so this is effectively all of the type hint information that's needed in order to use like all of these functions. It doesn't have like any code in it. It's literally just, hey, here's the name of the function and here's the parameter that it takes, or like here's the data type that it takes. I can just hit the undo button actually. So if I do that, then, you know, my text editor is happy and it's like, oh yeah, I know what this StoneBot thing is. It has a function named chat, which takes in a string and a message ID, and it's all good. But obviously, if I don't have this if statement here, I say obviously, but that's just a filler word, so ignore me. If I don't have this here, this is still gonna work, but what's gonna happen is it'll try and inject StoneBot, you know, like above my code. And then it'll import StoneBot here, which will effectively overwrite the object of StoneBot with all of this stuff, which again doesn't have any actual code in it. Which is why I have this if statement here. Whoops. So that we can check to see, has StoneBot been injected yet? If not, use the type hints, and if it has, then, you know, we've got all the information that we need already, so just don't do anything. So that's how I get the syntax highlighting to be nice. Now, the tool that I'm using, again, is called IronPython, which allows me to run Python code from within the .NET environment. It is specifically built for Python version 3.4. I have it in my notes. Yeah, it's specifically meant for Python 3.4. So, like, technically, there might be features in Python 3.13 that aren't in Python 3.4 that I just, they would normally be compatible with my syntax highlighting, but they wouldn't actually work if I tried running the script from Stonebot. But I feel like that's just a trade-off that kind of has to be had. I don't really feel like there's a nice alternative to having that. So, you kind of just have to deal with it. There are a couple of standard Python packages that don't work with IronPython, and that's what this link is. And I'll put a bunch of this information in the README file so that anybody that wants to use this has this information. But yeah, some of these packages are not supported. If your script, so this script here, if your script causes a Stack Overflow exception, Stonebot will also crash, because there's not really a good way of like knowing that there's a Stack Overflow exception. It just kind of happens, there might be a way to like predict whether or not the stack is getting too big, but I feel like, I don't know, I may or may not implement a catch for that. But like, if your script does throw an exception, it should be caught by Stonebot, unless specifically it's a Stack Overflow exception, in which case you can't really add to the stack at that point, so there's not really much you can do about it. It just crashes. But yeah, I feel like that's a lot of it. I think you guys missed like the beginning of the explanation, but that's fine. I can answer questions as we go, but the thing that I want to work on is the UI. This part, this giant empty space. Because this is where we're going to put all of the buttons and stuff to actually like configure the commands. And let me pull up the mock. Is this just going to show the code? Yeah, it's just going to show the code. Okay, let me actually like File Explorer, resources. I'm blind. There it is. So this is the basic idea of what I want it to look like, and it's like a very rough draft, right? So you can see we've got this is where the logo is supposed to be. We've got the connect button up here. We've got the settings button over here. And then we've got a bunch of these cards. And so this is different from the quote unquote current version of Stonebot, because previously these were just in a giant vertical list and you had to click on them in order to get any additional information. But what I want to do is just have these cards that have basically all the information just listed out here, so that you don't have to expand and collapse list elements. It's just all right here. I don't know that I want to implement like different tabs. I kind of feel like I just want everything all in one place, maybe separated by, some text. So like, instead of having the word links here, I could have the word commands and then have all of the commands, and then you could scroll down and then the word messages and have all the messages. I don't know yet. I'm just going to worry about the commands for now. and then we can worry about the rest of the stuff later. The search bar, I kind of want to put in like the header, because there's a bunch of empty space here. I don't really like the idea of it like being below the header. But yeah, basically what this is going to do is you can type in a word and then it'll search the name, any aliases, this category thing, the category thing I don't think I'm going to move forward with, but it was kind of an interesting idea. But yeah, it'll just filter and sort these cards based on what you type, which I think it'll be cool. Add quote, it just crashes. I know this won't work. I know that quoting Stonebot isn't here. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to add some UI stuff to add aliases. I also kind of want to add the ability to rename a command. Use delay, I'm now calling cooldown. But yeah, this is the basic idea. So, this interaction grid is like that UI, that giant UI space that I want to fill. So we got to figure out what to put here. And I feel like the obvious answer is to make a new class specifically for those individual cards, and then we can just arrange those cards in a grid. So I kind of want to do that. So now, if I remember correctly, there should be like a command manager. There is. Try use command save, get command keyword. Yeah, there's just this list of commands here. It's currently private, and I have not added any functions to search this list. But like, I'm gonna have to read from it and add to it at some point. So we're gonna make it public. All right. And then this interaction grid. So in it is called when the application first starts. So if I open up app here, on startup, we've got command manager in it. Yeah. This code is a little bit weird, but I kind of want to, I feel like I should refactor this at some point, but you know. That's a task for Future Stone. You absolutely destroyed the hydrate redeem. There's only so much water I can drink in a single stream, alright? Yo, what's up, Ren? How's it going? Speaking of the hydrate redeem, yeah, no, I nerfed that thing. You get one use. You gotta make it count. I have a fairly large water bottle, but like there's only so much water I can drink. Just got back from lifting and interview. Yo. Nice. What kind of job was it? If I can ask. If you're not comfortable, that's fine. Interview's huge though. Congrats. But yeah, this like the fact that I'm calling utils.try else error 5 bajillion times is not great. So I feel like that needs to change. But we are initializing the command manager as soon as the application starts. Which is on a different thread, right? Yeah. The most interesting one in the universe. Titles with airplanes? Titles with airplanes. Airplane sounds interesting. I don't entirely understand what that means, though. I'm going to be honest. A car title. Oh. Interesting. That actually does sound pretty cool. Yeah. Well, I'm hoping you get it. It sounds pretty cool. Okay, so the issue here is that when the application starts, fire startup. Yeah, so this is happening on a new thread because of this task.run. So, like, the initialization of the interaction grid and the initialization of the command manager are going to happen on two different threads. But I need the interaction grid to only initialize after the command manager. So I might... I'm not entirely sure how to deal with that, to be honest. More interesting than tax specialist, that's for sure. Was that another option? Was that also something you were going for? Yeah, I feel like... I don't know. I feel like being knowledgeable about taxes is cool, but like actually doing them, whole different thing. That was my previous employment. Gotcha. Yeah, would say that's an improvement in terms of interest. I feel like I've solved this problem before of having things run on two different threads. Yeah, this update users thing. Okay. So if I have a function... Oh, but this is... Oh, this is all kinds of weird. Hang on, where am I using this interaction grid? I'm creating it somewhere, right? I'm creating it here in the main window. I should have been better prepared for this. Just immediately face plant into a roadblock. Of course, I haven't looked at this code in a really long time, so I have excuses. It's fine. Okay, so I'm creating an interaction grid here. Where did I have... Okay, so I have this. So this dispatcher UI thread invoke basically means that whatever code I put here is going to be executed on the UI thread. So let me show you what I mean. So pay attention to like the top of the screen, sort of near the left half, where the user buttons are located. As soon as I fix this error. Hang on. Is it gonna work now? Okay. Alright, so see these buttons here. So they were at one point just 3 dots. And then they changed to be the username of me and the username of the chatbot. So I'm doing a similar thing there, where there are 2 different things happening on 2 different threads, and one of them needs to finish before the other one. So that's basically the same situation I'm having here. And this is the way that I've solved it. So after the cache gets initialized, then I'm going back to the UI thread and I'm updating the user buttons. So I think the same thing needs to happen here, where I need to have the command manager be initialized and then run some kind of update function. Main panel.update users. I'll need to write a function for that. Just an opportunity to learn. Exactly. Okay, so update users, I've got that function. Let me be like update interaction grid. Todo, we'll fill in that later. We've got the buttons, we've got some pop-ups. Let me add a new thing here that says interaction grid. So we can, whoops, so we can actually keep track of the interaction grid. Please make it capital. Okay, and then instead of saying body equals new interaction grid, we can say interaction grid equals new interaction grid. And then here we can pass that. Actually, get main grid. Yes, expand that, please. Do we need to give it a body? Yeah, okay. That's fine. Okay, so now we're keeping track of the interaction grid. And we need to update it at some point. This is once again the only way to use crayons, so I shall now only send highlighted messages. Oh, we gotta hydrate, okay. You don't have to use the crayons yet, you know? You could just keep them. You could hoard them. Also, the blue in the logo is 0069FF flipping the R&B values. That's right, I remember. That's funny. Also, I said this earlier, but I don't think anybody was here yet. So, the background music that I'm using right now was made by my brother. And there's like there's 6 songs. But they only total like 10 minutes. So if you have any like copyright free music that I can throw into that playlist, that'd be banging. All right. So main panel, update interaction grid, there we go. So now that should solve our thread problems. So we can initialize the interaction grid with some UI stuff. And then update state. Update. I don't know if I should call it update or like initialize. Update's probably fine. Yeah, that's probably fine. So then I can just say interaction grid update. And then it's gonna get mad at me because it's not a one-liner. Okay. So we can do this now. So let's just add some text. Text block. What does this require? Just a string, right? It doesn't require string? How did I use it before? Content text. Okay. There's a thing. So what is it? Children? Shit. Stupid auto. Is it children? Yeah, it is children. Okay. Am I allowed to add something? As text block. Let me just see if this works. It might crash on me. Or throw an error or something. Never mind. It was perfectly fine. Okay. Actually, let me make sure that this actually like works. Updating interaction grid. There we go. Oh, it did. Okay, nice. Okay, so this is running. Let's add some text to this, maybe. Hello, world. I know I don't need the this dot, but I'm keeping it there for now. Oh, there's the hello world. Okay. We have successfully rendered a UI component. You may now PogChamp. Okay. So we can get rid of this. I really don't like the fact that it has to wait. Right? Because we're doing everything sequentially. So we're trying to initialize the cache. And then we're updating those username buttons. We're initializing custom data, custom manager, and then we're doing this. Because, like, the cache, like custom data and custom data and command manager don't need to wait until after the cache is initialized to initialize themselves. So I can do some of this in parallel. Thank you for the PogChamps. We showed text. Let's go. There's words on the screen. Anyway. We can throw Toto in there. Toto. Parallelize. Initialize init. I was gonna spell out the entire word and I gave up. Okay. So at some point we need to parallelize that. Okay, so we can just add a child. Who knew? Making a child was so easy. Why is it getting mad at me? Oh, because it's a one-liner. Okay, so then here is where we can read the, whatchamacallit, the command list, the list of commands. So we can go command manager dot commands. Actually, I should make that uppercase now that it's a public thing. There we go. Keep consistent naming schemes. And then we basically just need to loop through all of these. Actually, let's grab it, please. Command in all of those commands. And then we can add. Sure, just for testing purposes, we can add a text block. Say command.name. I only have one command in there for now. I love words. Wahoo! There's words on the screen is definitely getting ad quoted. You know what? Here, let me fire up the old version of Stonebot So you can add those real quick. Where is it? No, where is it? I had it before. There you go. All right. Go ahead, have at it. This is old Stonebot. I showed this off earlier, but this is the old version. It's got all the logs like here on the screen, which I decided to not do in the newer version, and then like everything is separated by tabs. So you've got all the commands in here, like add quote, regular quote, and stuff like this. I didn't like that it was all in a list, so that's why we're doing the individual cards. I didn't realize we were up to quote 69. That's awesome. Dang, that's a lot of quotes. It shouldn't be too hard to copy them over to the new version. But all right. Did you quote everything that you wanted to quote? Because I'm about to close it. Now you see why I've memorized the quote count recently. I did not clock that, but yeah, that makes complete sense. All right. Well, we were just adding text. Is this even like, does this even have like a default layout? There's an ad going on right now, so I might hang on just a second. Actually, while that's going, let me add a new command here. Bam. Bam. Let's call it second. Doesn't need any aliases. You can do that, and then that. It shouldn't have any issues, right? Like, excuse me. Oh. I renamed the word commands so that it has a capital letter, and now it's getting mad at me in all the places that I had it a lowercase. Okay, that should be everything though. Okay, yeah, so it should just warn me if a command doesn't exist. Like, it shouldn't, or if like a script doesn't exist, it shouldn't crash or anything. I don't know, we'll see. I've added this second command in here. Let's see what happens. Don't blow up, please. Don't explode. It's fine. I didn't even get any error messages. I think I should have gotten an error message. Wait, what is it doing? Man manager file task. File. When does it actually read the file? Does it do that in the constructor? Oh, it does it in the constructor. That kind of makes sense, but also I feel like it shouldn't do that. Maybe it shouldn't do that. It's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Point is, I added a second command, and boom, now it's got both the test command and the second command. Easy. Yeah, so we're just looping through all the commands, and we're adding a child with the text block for each of the commands. Now, this doesn't really work if there's like a kinda long. Hang on, is that? I'm pretty sure it has to be one thing. A kinda long name for a command that may or may not take up a lot of room in the UI, but hopefully it is fine and does not cause any issues whatsoever. Okay. Now let's see what happens when it tries to render that. I didn't know you knew how to do this, Stone. Really cool. Yeah. Oh, it didn't even I typed out all that and it didn't even go off screen. That was the whole point of this. I was trying to get it to go off screen. Okay, hang on. I gotta make a new command. Give me a second. When did you learn to code a bot? I don't remember when like the first version of StoneBot came out. Actually, did I keep the GitHub repo? Hang on. I might still have the code for the original StoneBot. Hang on. What just happened to my Chrome tab? Okay. So here's the current version of StoneBot. StoneBot app. Is this it? It's JavaScript 3 years ago. I think this might be it. TMI events, Twitch. This looks like it's it. Yeah, so there you go. 3 years ago. 928 years ago. Yeah, you know, I'm like 1,000 years old, basically. I am a stone, after all. No way, it's Slime Hero. Wow, yeah. You remember that? That tragedy? I worked on it for what, like an hour? API.js. What was this? Mongoose? Oh, that's right. I tried to use like an actual database. That was a fun time. But yeah. So I started 3 years ago. And I've made quite a few improvements. I obviously I have not been working on it like consistently during those 3 years, but yeah, the very first version was about 3 years ago. That's so short for a stone. Yeah, I know, I'm pretty young, huh? Only 1,000 years old. Okay. So, let's make that one. But a second time. Okay, so now we have 2 commands that both take up a lot of screen space. Let's see what happens. Practically a baby. What happened? Did I forget to save it? I forgot to hit the save button. Oh wait, no. Okay. It automatically resaves the file when I close it, so I have to close it first and then make my edits. Okay. Sorry. I forgot. Okay, this one. But a second time. I'm really having to fight my habit. Not habit, but like my muscle memory of pressing the space bar every time I type a letter. It's taking all of my mental energy not to hit the space bar. Jokes aside, that's cool. Coding interests me, but also scares me. Oh, it does wrap around. Of course it wraps around. Of course it does. I'm using a wrap panel. Because... I was expecting it to go off screen, and it... Of course. Yeah, sure. No, but see, there's fun parts of coding. You know, you can forget that something works properly, and then that's a nice surprise. Yeah, no, I started getting into coding like literally 10 years ago. Like freshman year of high school. I came from a private school. And I did high school. I did public high school. And so like I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. But I knew my dad was into coding. So I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. And then, you know, 10 years later, you can see where that shot got me. It's now my job and my hobby, so kind of worked out. But yeah, the bot I didn't start until a couple years ago. And it was like, it wasn't great. It was kind of bad. I made it specifically for Twitch using some code that some other people had written, but I didn't really like it, and so I wanted to make my own bot with like a bunch of my own features and stuff. And actually, initially, I wanted to make a bot for YouTube, but YouTube is stupid. YouTube is really dumb when it comes to making bots. You better prepare yourself, because I'm about to go on a rant. Coding is pretty much just carefully crafting a conversation with your computer, but in a slightly different language. Feels okay, man. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes the best way to win the conversation is via fear tactics. Yeah. You speak an ancient language. God bless your service. Yeah, we can... Locked in for rant. I mean, we could go lower level. What happened to my stream quality? What just... Okay, maybe that's just for me. My little preview window makes me look really blurry. Okay, I hope it's fine. Spone. That is absolutely an accurate use of that. I'm pretty sure that's the first time somebody's actually used that emote properly. It might just be the first time anybody's used that emote, period. Okay, rant time. So... the way that Twitch's API works, I saw that new. The way that Twitch's API works is it basically says, okay, assuming you have all the authorization data and everything, so you're like, the user has authorized Twitch to connect, you're all good to go, you've got all the permission that you need. Okay, so you want to connect to somebody's chat. You have to send a message to Twitch that says, hey, here are my credentials. I've got permission to do this. You know, I would like to connect to this person's chat and, you know, establish a connection. So Twitch responds and says, okay. They send you a message back and are like, all right, your credentials look good. I've established a connection with you at, you know, this information. We're good to go. And as soon as you get that message, you have to send another message to Twitch that says, okay, here's the information that I want you to send me through this connection. In this case, I want you to send me the chat information. So like you could do things like, when the user goes live, when they stop streaming, when they get a subscription, when a raid happens, all of that stuff. But in this case, we're just talking about chat messages. So I send a message to Twitch that says, hey, whenever the user gets a chat message, I want you to send me that data. And Twitch goes, okay. And then from then on, anytime a chat message gets sent in that user's chat, Twitch will send Stonebot a message containing all the data of that chat message, including user information, so like the username of the person that sent the message. It also comes with an ID number, the content of the message, any information about emotes that were used in the message, whether or not it was like a highlighted message or it came along with a redemption, or all that data, it gets sent to Stonebot. And then whenever I want to disconnect, I just send a message to Twitch that says, hey, I no longer need you to send me that data, so you can just delete that. And Twitch goes, okay. And then I can say, all right, that connection that we established earlier, I don't need that either. You can kill that. And Twitch goes, okay. So that's how Twitch works. You basically establish a connection and you wait for Twitch to send you information. And then when you want to disconnect, you tell Twitch and Twitch goes, okay. YouTube live streaming, on the other hand, they don't have such a system. The way that you get chat message information from YouTube is you send a message to YouTube that says, hey YouTube, give me a list of every chat message that has happened since the last time that I asked you. And YouTube sends you a giant list of every chat message that you have received since the last time that you asked. So okay, you can go through that list and do whatever you want. And then in order to continue getting chat message information, you have to send another message to YouTube and say, hey YouTube, give me a list of every chat message that has happened since the last time that I asked you. And then YouTube sends you the chat message information. And so the way that Twitch worked is that you could just establish a connection and wait for Twitch to send you data. The way that YouTube works is that you have to constantly be going, hey, are there any new chat messages? 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 And there's no way to make that any better. You have to just keep poking YouTube and say, hey, are there any new chat messages? And that's fine. That works technically. But also, there's a limit as to the number of times you can do that before YouTube will start making you pay for it. So you can't just keep poking YouTube saying, hey, are there any new chat messages? You have to be strategic in how you do that so that you don't go over that limit. And I'm pretty sure the last time I calculated, you could only do that check once or twice every hour over the course of a regular streaming schedule. Which is obviously not great. That's not how it should be. I want all of the chat information immediately. So yeah, at one point in time, I had, set up a bunch of code, a bunch of infrastructure to have a chatbot work on YouTube, because I was ready to make the transition from Twitch to YouTube. And then I ran into that. And then I was like, okay, maybe Twitch wasn't so bad. Maybe it was fine over there. So yeah, literally that was the deciding factor. I was trying to figure out whether I should stream on Twitch or YouTube, and that was the deciding factor. I couldn't make a Twitch bot, or I couldn't make a chat bot on YouTube, so I decided to stream on Twitch. That was it. That was everything. That actually sucks big dookie. Yeah. YouTube does not have the greatest live streaming API. Twitch is pretty nice, yeah. Okay, rant over. Sorry, I just... And I don't want to make it sound like YouTube is terrible, because, like, the regular video YouTube API is perfectly fine. I think it's actually a lot nicer than Twitch's API if you're just working with, like, regular videos, right? Like, if you have made a video and you want to create your own application that automatically uploads it and adds tags and a description and titles it and whatever, that part of the API is perfectly fine. It's actually pretty enjoyable to use. The live streaming API is terrible. Would not recommend. Don't apologize, that sucks. I mean, like, I gotta give credit where credit's due, I can't just be down all the time. I gotta be positive occasionally. Anyway, what was I doing? Coding something? We were trying to do something, right? We're getting text to appear on the screen. So... yeah, so I need to create a new thing here. New item. Let's call it... interaction and this is the hardest part of coding, is trying to figure out what to name stuff. It's like the little card that has all the information on it. Do I just call it card? I could call it like command card or something. Let's do that. Command card. That works. Okay. We've got a command card. Yay, words! Yeah, we love words. Why is this SRC? Don't do that. Did it automatically change any of this other stuff? No, okay. We're good. We're good. We're fine. Did I, like, create my own custom panel? Main panel. It doesn't look like it. I made my own pop-up. Okay, that's fine. So we can just extend from a panel. Maybe I should extend from a different panel, actually. What does this one extend from? This one just extends from panel. Okay, so we're fine. So let's make a constructor here that can take in a command, and we can be like, we're gonna have to establish a grid, right? For now, I think we'll just, can I do the same thing? Children.add new text block with the text. What? Don't do that. I don't know what you just did, but don't. Text equals command.name. Okay, so this should be like relatively close to what we had before. Let me go back into the interaction grid. And so instead of just adding a text block straight up, we'll add a new command card and we'll give it the command. Whoops. Let me spell correctly. All right, now what happens? Magic? Nothing. That, okay. I gotta go for a bit. Don't take over the world while I'm gone. All right, have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. Debug my pet bugs. I don't think anything changed. Oh, hang on. If I set the background, command card. If I say background equals red, color.red, red. There we go. Is stuff gonna... Ugh. What is this? Be safe, warrior. Main theme dot danger brush 1. There we go. Okay, that's gonna be some kind of red. The UI framework that I'm working with is a little bit picky. They're red. Okay, we're getting places. Okay, so it looks like there is default spacing, which makes sense, right? Because this interaction grid has a margin. Yep. Okay. That makes sense. So if I add margin to each of these cards, let's just say 10 Ds. Whoops. Don't do that. 10 Ds. They should be spaced out a little bit by a couple pixels. They're spaced out. Let's go. Okay. My stream preview is still blurry. Is it actually blurry on stream, or is it just my preview? Because I'm actually a little bit worried. My bitrate is fine. Why is it being dumb? Hello? Quality. Auto. Looks fine. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, cool. So there's spacing. You are clear. Clear for takeoff. So I kind of want to make these... I want to make these cards all the same size. That way they all like fit nicely into a grid shape. The problem is some of them might have lengthy command names, like the ones that I've set up. So I'm wondering if it's worth it to intentionally like cut off the command name and just put like 3 dots at the end so that we can control how wide each of the cards are. Also, can I add rounded corners? Rounded corners are like the new hotness in UI design, right? How do I add rounded corners? Corner radius. Corner radius. Is that another thing? Or is that okay. Can I set that to 2? As someone who cares so deeply about quality with their streams, I truly understand the anxiety of finding out for a week that audio from games is not capturing devastated me. Yeah. Anytime that I mess with settings, I always have to record a video and just make sure that everything sounds fine. But yeah, I definitely feel that. Why can I not do that? I swear I've used this before. Can I search for it? Connect button. I use corner radius here. And then in this... Oh, do I only use it for buttons? Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Wait, border? Oh, that's what a border is specifically for, isn't it? Isn't it? Tell me I'm wrong, I dare you. Avalonia border. Border. Let's look at the docs. The border control decorates a single child with a border and background. It can also be used to display rounded corners. So instead of extending panel, let's do a border. Okay. Okay. We're getting places. let's have the corner radius be 10Ds again. 10Ds. Oh, and then children doesn't work. Why does children not work? Is it content? Content? Oh, it's just one child. Okay. It's child. Just give me a new panel, and then we can add children in here. Say children equals, and then a list of dudes. Why is it getting mad at me? Okay. Let's actually create a variable and just say main panel equals a new panel, and then we can say for each. Oh wait, no, this is just a single command. Right? Yeah. This is just a single command. I'm confusing myself. Hang on. It's fine. I could just say child equals. And then it'll be fine. There we go. Okay. So now we should have rounded corners. So valid. I've been getting into the habit. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Oh, rounded corners. Welcome back, Lich. I think you can see how far we got. We got rounded corners. Let's go. Oh, wait, have I been using a different radius for all the other buttons? Oh no. Oh no. What was I using before? I was using 5Ds? Except for the config button, in which case I used 20. Oh, no. That's the info button. Hang on. That's like these question mark buttons. That's where the radius is 20. Okay. All the rest of the buttons have a radius of 10. Or 5, sorry, 5. They have a radius of 5. Question is, do I want to make these consistent, or because they're going to be relatively larger, do I want to increase their corner radius? What do you think? Is the corner rounding on these buttons, should I make it the same as these cards? Also, just for reference, let me pull it back up. Let me pull up the mock so you can see the general, the scratch paper version of this. So this is what I'm talking about when I say cards. So I want these little panels, these little squares that have the name of the command. You can choose who's able to use the command, how long, like the cooldown. You can turn it on and off, so you can disable it if you want to. So this is what I mean by cards. So should these rounded corners be the same size as the rounded corners on the buttons? You know what? Let me do this. I'll make a poll. You guys can vote. Same size rounded corners, question mark. Yes. No. It'll go for 3 minutes. You've got 3 minutes. Good luck. May the best poller win. So should they be 10, which is what they're at now? Or should they be 5 like everything else? Tough choice. Also, Ren, I know you said before that you wanted to hear my thoughts about the Minecraft game design, because I have many opinions about it. Some of them may or may not be controversial. But that does require like a whole rant. So I may or may not do that today. Depending. I've been live for 2 hours. That's okay. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't gotten a whole lot done in 2 hours, but it's fine. I spent like the first yeah, to be fair, I spent the first hour of the stream just explaining how far I've gotten with the current version of Stonebot. So maybe I shouldn't kick myself so much, but yeah, I might rant some other time because I don't want to. I don't know how long the rant would take, but also I haven't played Minecraft in a while. I haven't launched it. I've been games. I use a third-party launcher. Yeah. Okay. I might do it. I might do it. Any progress is still progress. That's true. I did get a little bit more done than I was expecting, to be honest. Because usually my brain just like entirely shuts down when I'm streaming. Because like I have tried to stream coding before, and it just does not work. I lose all of my brain cells immediately. Except for this time. This time has been somewhat productive. Alright, only a couple seconds left. We've got 1 vote for yes and 1 vote for lol. Somebody better not vote for no, because then I'm gonna have no idea what to do. Unlocking, thank you. I didn't want to keep you there. Keeping convo while having to think on things is not easy. Yeah, especially when it's like coding, right? Because not only do you have to think through the solution to the problem, but you have to explain both the problem and the solution. Okay, well, I guess you don't have to do those things, but like it's pretty nice to watch a stream where somebody's not like just mindlessly typing in a text file, you know? Okay. We got the answer of yes. So I'm going to change this from being 10Ds to 5Ds. And like, realistically, I should be putting these kinds of numbers in like a better management, like a better system for managing it. That way I don't just have like some, these are called magic numbers. Just like a bunch of hard-coded numbers here. But that's a problem for future me. What if command text is so big that it can't fit within a single line, even without other commands taking up space? So I was talking about this earlier. I like your way of thinking, Glitch. So one idea is to just limit the number of characters that a command can be named. The other idea is to cut it off with an ellipsis. So just have 3 dots displayed on the screen. Which I don't know that I like that because, excuse me, because then you can't, okay, sorry. Then you can't actually see the full name of it. So I'm kind of leaning towards the idea of putting a limit on the name of a command. But at the same time, that gets rid of like meme-y funny stuff where you can just make a command name extremely long and then force people to type out the entire thing. That would be funny, but also a nightmare for designing the UI. Because like you could do the ellipsis thing, but then maybe have like an expand button where you click it and it just like, you know, pushes everything out of the way to display the entire full name. I don't really like that idea, though. I am kind of leaning towards the idea of just limiting the number of characters it can have. Which, again, like, if you go into the actual file and manually change these values, there's not much I can do about that. But I can make it so that in the UI, you can only enter a certain number of characters. Pros and cons, yeah. Do I allow meme stuff, or do I make my application look weird? You know? Yeah, I'm just gonna limit the number of characters that it can be. I am using a mono font. Where is it? Resources. Oh, it's probably under my... Yeah, it's underneath chat. You're not even going to see it anyway. But I am using a mono font, which means that all the letters have the same width. So if I have text that I know is like 10 characters long, then it's going to be the same width as every other word with 10 characters. So then I can just like hard code the width. Monospace my goat. Exactly. Like, at some point, I feel like I kind of want to add support for other fonts, just in case people want to, like, customize the way that it looks. But also, that sounds like effort. That sounds like a lot of work. Alright, so let me just say, like, that's not how you spell it. Width is equal to, I don't know, 50 Ds. Let's see what that... Dude, I keep, like, scratching my nose because I feel like there's a hair tickling me, but there's nothing there. I'm getting, like, a phantom tickle. Okay, that's maybe a little bit small. Let's crank that up to maybe 500 Ds. What does that look like? That happens to me all the time. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this is the first time it's happened in a while. But I'm like, I'm having to put mental effort into not touching my nose. Okay, that's a little bit wide still. Let's try 300 Ds. We're gonna hone in on the correct value here. It's misery. All right, we're back. All right, welcome back. All right, what do we think about this width? What do we think? I might be able to get one more card before the edge. So obviously I'm gonna have it centered in the middle of the screen. Well, should I have it centered or should I have it left aligned? Poll time. I'm making another poll. You guys could make all of my decisions for me. There we go. I'm gonna make full use of my affiliate features. You can see it on my stream. The amount of times I say I need to rub my nose is because there's something tickling it and I can't find it. I actually haven't noticed that. I'm doing it. Yeah, no, I actually haven't noticed you do that. So maybe you don't do it often enough. Or maybe I'm just not that observant. Well, now you will. Yeah, I'll point it out every single time it happens. I'll at you too, so it'll highlight the message. You'll see every single time. Dude, okay. I told this story to my family recently. So, when I went to college, my first year of college, I had a public speaking class, and they had this lesson that was like, you would get up in front of the class, and there like wouldn't be a prompt. You could just talk about literally anything, but it had to be for like 2 minutes or something, like 2 or 5 minutes. I don't remember. And they would ding you. They have like one of those bells that you push the little thing down. Like the classic bell that they have on like a hotel countertop or something like that. They would ring you every time you said either like or and it was so annoying. It made you like extremely hyper aware of every word that was coming out of your mouth. It was the most frustrating thing, especially because you had to especially because you had to speak just about whatever, you didn't have anything to prepare. There was nothing to practice. You just had to start talking, and they would ding you every time. And it was like anti-Pavlov or something. We got 2 votes for left. All right, then. I guess that settles it. I was almost entirely convinced on doing it centered, but all right, heard. It will be left aligned. In that case, what do you think about the width? I feel like you could get 1 more in there, right? Like, what happens if I add 2 more? Let me close that. Sorry, I asked you a question about the... I asked you a question and then immediately closed the program. Sorry. Oops. No. Oh. Why is it... Hello? Am I doing the wrong keybind? Copy paste. Okay. 3rd. And I already have it copied. Okay. 4th. All right, let's see what happens here. Command names should be easy to type, and those first few cards have way too much negative space. So I think command names should be limited in size more. You don't need those long names. The example shown can be exclam long name CMDT. Okay, so I can't like neatly fit 5 of them, but it should automatically, like reorganize everything. Okay, command names should be easy to type. The first few cards have way too much negative space. Well, so... I mean, again, we're going to have a bunch of other information in the card, right? Unless I'm misinterpreting what you're saying. But, like, yeah, I haven't put hard restrictions on the size of the name yet. Right now, I'm just figuring out the width of the cards. If I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, let me know. Yeah, I think that's fine. Like, it is a little bit annoying because this is like 1920 by 1080. So maybe I should adjust the width so that it like nicely fits in a sort of quote unquote default screen size. Let's try 250 Ds. What does that look like? Okay, still not really like nicely filling the space. Interesting. But I feel like do six commands make up the entire width? Like, does that make sense, or should I add another one? Because the other thing is that, like, I don't know. I mean, I can look at the mock here, but I don't know exactly how big the rest of this stuff is going to be. Because obviously the mock cards are, like, significantly smaller than the actual ones. I don't know. I feel like I'm obsessing over the width. That's like, it's literally one number that we can change whenever we want. Okay, let's move on. I'm getting caught up on things that don't matter. In that message, I accidentally gave a different solution than what I actually wanted, which is what caused confusion. But yes, I think the card width should be thinner. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and I'll change that later. What is the other information that we need? So a command. Maybe I should have this in my hotbar. Command. Here it is. So command has a name. It has a list of aliases. It has a true/false value as to whether it's enabled. It has the permission level, and it has a cooldown in milliseconds. Okay. So the name is easy enough to display. The list of aliases, though. How in the world am I going to do that? Because I want to add the ability to edit the list. So you should be able to. I might actually just have to have like an entire pop-up specifically to edit aliases, because like you have to have the ability to add an alias, remove an alias. Well, I guess that's really it. Because if you wanted to edit an alias, you could just remove it and then add back the correct one. So, like, technically the only things you need to do are add and remove aliases. So maybe I can make a whole new pop-up just for that, which doesn't feel great. You know, because, like, the rest of the UI is designed in such a way that you can, like, easily change these values. But if you had to click on a button, which, you know, had a pop-up, and then you could change the aliases from that, it gets a little bit weird. But also, how else do you display a list of unknown length, which you can also add and remove stuff from, in, like, a defined space? It would have to have a scroll bar, right? But I feel like this little card just isn't enough space to properly display everything, which is why I think the pop-up solution is good. Unless I'm missing something. But, like, it just... I can't think of a better way. We should give Stonebot a blindfold and a copy of Will You Snail. Dude, okay. I've been thinking about something like that. So it's really unfortunate. Let me show you this. It is really unfortunate. Let me go to this link again. So the incompatible packages, in other words, the stuff that you cannot do, includes things like pandas and NumPy and PyTorch. Actually, I'm not as familiar with PyTorch, but I know at least, like, pandas and NumPy are two things that are very commonly used in, like, machine learning stuff. Which is a shame, because it would be super cool if we could, like, if I could set up Stonebot to actually, like, play a game. You know, have you ever seen those videos where it's like teaching an AI to play Mario Kart or something like that? Like, it would be so cool to have, you know, to set up Stonebot to where it could, like, play Mario Kart or something. Or, like, you know, play Connect 4 with somebody in chat or something like that, you know? I know Connect 4 doesn't require machine learning, but anyway, it's a little bit unfortunate that I can't do something like that. NumPy is literally the second best Python package. Why isn't it supported? Don't ask me. No idea. Absolutely no idea. Oh, how do I display a list of them? You know what? Let's do this. Here's some advice for everybody. If you're ever stuck trying to solve a problem, don't solve the problem. Ilias says, I don't know why I just had a brain fart there. There we go. Don't solve the problem. Put it in a Toto. Solve it later. Did I just peak my mic? I feel like I said that really loud. First is Pygame. I don't know that I've ever used Pygame. I've heard of it. And like I've seen games that are made with it. I don't know that I've ever used it. No, that might be wrong, actually. Did I use it? There was a class that I took in college that used Python. I don't remember if we used Pygame or not. I don't remember. It is really interesting though that I took a game development. Was it game dev or was it game design? I think it was game dev. I took a game dev class in high school, which had us using GameMaker, and the programming language for GameMaker is like it's much more similar to like the C style languages than to Python. And I just find it funny that like a high school level game development class had us using GameMaker, and then you go to college and like the first class you have to take is in Python, and it's like, okay, you're having me use an arguably easier language to learn the concept of programming when like last year I was already making full video games with something more complicated, you know? College is fun. But also, it's a little bit flawed. If you made a screen instead of only console display, you likely used Pygame. See, that's the thing, is I don't remember. I remember the entire class was in Python, and we did make like games with it. I just don't remember if we used the console or if we did use Pygame. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think we just used the console. I don't remember. We are going to need a grid though. So I'm actually going to say child is equal to a new S grid. God, why does it do that? I just wanted to hit the enter button. Oh, that's right. It takes in, yeah, okay, never mind. Don't do that. It takes in a bunch of arguments. Dang arguments. So what does it do first? Does it do rows or column? It does rows and then columns. So how many rows do we want? That's a good question. So we want one row for the name and for the on-off button. Permission level, I feel like we can get away with putting the drop-down next to it, right? So like we have the word permission level, and then just to the right of it, we can put the drop-down. So I feel like we can fit that in one row. I like Pygame more than GM, honestly. It just doesn't have as many capabilities, so I sort of have to use GM sometimes. Really? If I had to guess, I would have thought that Pygame was more capable. That's kind of interesting. I mean, I know Game Maker has a lot of stuff in it. But as far as I know, it's still like very geared towards not like inexperienced or beginner, but I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as something with that like is super advanced, if that makes sense. Anyway, so like permission level can probably be 1 row. So the name is 1 row, the permission level is 1 row. Enabled is fitting on the same row as the name. Cooldown milliseconds is 1 row. So we at least have 1, 2, 3 rows. And then I don't even know what we're gonna do with aliases. I'll have a row for it, but I have no idea what I'm gonna do with it. I forget exactly how to set this up, so let me search for something. Yeah, that's right. It's like grid length.auto. Okay. If you want to be a good programmer, avert your eyes. What I'm about to do is not recommended. There we go. Now we have 4 rows. Oh, we've got ads. Okay, I'll wait until ads are over. I see that message. I'll respond. Oops, wrong thing. I hit my insert button. Oops. Come on. Okay. Grid length auto. We're gonna have 2 columns for everything, I think. I like having the trailing commas. Okay. What? How did I do this before? Oh, it was a list. Okay, gotcha. You're out of the ads. Okay. Why does Twitch only give me 1 ad? It's been the same ad like 8 times in a row. I don't know. Are you only interested in that one thing? Maybe they just don't have ads for you. They don't have ads that target any of your interests, I guess, maybe? I don't know. Alright, so what are we doing? We want... I'm going to separate these out into their own functions just to make it easier, potentially. We'll make them private. Private sgrid get child. This is how we obtain a child. You simply code and then it happens. Don't ask how. Questions are for those who don't want to live. Okay. That looks weird. Is that the same? Yeah, that's the same spacing I used here. Okay. That's bizarre to me, but it's fine. I have targeted ads disabled. I have no idea then. Dude, as soon as I turned off targeted ads, or I don't know, I might be wrong. I feel like there was one time where I turned off targeted ads and then I immediately started getting like a bunch of ads of people speaking in Spanish. And it's been It's been so long since I know anything in Spanish. Why are you quote farming on the stream where we can't quote you? Okay, you know what? Here, let me... I'll launch Stonebot again. Here, you can add as many quotes as you want. There you go. Why am I quote farming? I wasn't meaning to. Yeah, you know, it just happens. I'm cool like that. I just am naturally good at, you know, saying good stuff. Man, I had a bit in my head and then it just turned out so poorly. I can speak good. Yeah, phenomenal job there. What was I going to put inside of the child? A block? Oh, I was just... Okay. Yeah. Okay, this is gonna be weird. I can just say child equals get child. Oops. Come on. I'm gonna go work on the logo now. All right, sweet. Have fun. What was I gonna put in the child? See, like it just comes naturally. I don't know what to tell you. I just say quotable things all the time, and it's definitely on purpose. I feel like how have I done this before? Do I just get the list? Most quotable man. That's me. Some of those quotes you might not want to remember, but they're there. Yeah, just like I passed in everything. Okay. I mean, I suppose I could do the same thing. Because I need what? I need the name. I need a button. Yeah, I need a text block. Nope, not there. I need a text block for the name. I need a button. I don't know what kind of button. What kind of button do I want? I want like a brand new type of button, I think. I have some like predefined buttons because oh, it's not gonna run because there's a bunch of red squigglies. Okay, whatever. But like, you know, I've got a bunch of blue buttons, so I just create one blue button and then, you know, copy it a bunch of times basically. I don't actually copy paste the code. It's just that's the way I phrased it. But I need a button like the power button that's in the mock, right? This power button here. But I don't have an already defined button for doing that, so I'm gonna have to design that at some point. But I need a button. Yeah, weird. I'll put it Toto. Toto, whoop, Toto. Create the correct type of button. All right, there we go. Problem for future me. Button enable enable toggle button, I guess I could call it. That's a bit lengthy. Whatever. I could call it a power button. I don't know about that. I also would need to pass in the alias information. Okay. This is getting a little bit weird. So you know what I'm going to do? Ren, if you're still here. You ready to lock in? I'm going to comment all that out. Because this might take a little bit more brain power than I have right now. So I might have to do that off stream. Hello? Okay, alright. We're switching categories. I'm about to rant about Minecraft. I probably don't have to switch categories or anything, right? Depending on how long it takes. If it's like a 20-minute rant, then maybe that's fine. Alright, music off. Camera full screened. Let me actually launch Minecraft. Maybe that could help. I don't even know if I have the vanilla. Okay, this is fine. Yeah, whatever. Okay, this is not the most recent version, but it will be Minecraft as soon as it loads. What? Oh, okay. My launcher has like a little section for news, and it was like Pride Month 2025. I'm like, I didn't think Pride Month lasted that long. Does it bleed into July? I mean, who says it can't, right? Okay. I'm gonna turn my sounds down. And then I'll show you the game. Looking for a game to catch. There you go. Okay. Okay. It's actually year round. Perfect. Okay. So this is a modded version of Minecraft, but they're all like optimization mods. So it doesn't like change any of the gameplay or anything. Disability Pride Months follows after OG June Pride. Oh, okay. I'm only familiar with the June Pride. Okay. So, welcome to my Minecraft rant. In this rant, I am going to argue a couple of things. So, relatively recently, there was an image going around about Minecraft's progression. And it went something to the effect of the first like 15 minutes of the game, you can get from nothing to full iron armor. And then it takes like another 90 minutes to get from iron to diamonds. And then like another 90 minutes or something to get from diamond to netherite. Something to that effect. And the whole point of it was that like, you know, why are we adding copper gear in between the 15 minutes of gameplay that it takes you to get from nothing to iron? Like, why are we adding something here instead of in between the 90 minutes it takes to get from iron to diamonds? That was the point that was trying to be made. The most common argument I've heard against that is that Minecraft is a sandbox game. And so it doesn't really have to have a defined progression because you can just do whatever you want. And I have an issue with that. So I am going to argue two things. One of them is that I'm going to argue that Minecraft is in fact not a sandbox video game. And in fact, Minecraft is not a survival game. Or maybe even not a video game at all. Hear me out. I'm going to turn down the volume again because that's a little bit distracting. Okay. So let's assume that Minecraft is a video game and it is a sandbox video game. Here we have the main menu. This is fine, right? Fantastic. We got single player, multiplayer, whatever, mods, options, quick game. Perfectly fine. No issues there. I click single player. We have a save select screen, all right? Perfectly fine. That's consistent with video games. Makes complete sense, right? Let's create a new world. Preparing for world creation. I have an issue already. If this is a sandbox game, why is the default game mode survival? In the survival game mode, you have to manage your own character's resources, right? You have to manage your inventory, you have to manage hunger, you have to manage health, you have to manage the well-being of your own player character. To me, that doesn't really sound like a sandbox video game. Now, maybe that's just a personal opinion. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. For me, it doesn't really make sense that you have to manage your own personal resources in a sandbox game. A sandbox game, in my opinion, is something that is meant for, like, you to be creative, right? That would make sense to me. So let's just assume that they actually meant to put the default game mode on creative, right? Because at one point in time, the default game mode was creative. And I'm pretty sure it was before Mojang. I think the default game mode was changed to survival before it was handed off to Mojang. But at one point, the default game mode was creative. But they changed it. So, like, at one point, it was very intentionally a sandbox video game. And then they changed it. But okay. All right, let's just assume that, I don't know, maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they meant to make the default game mode something else, or maybe they actually did mean to make it survival. We'll just say creative. The original was creative, survival mode was added way later. Exactly. All right. I'll create a world. I'm not going to change any of the settings or anything. But okay, this is a sandbox game, right? We're assuming that this is a sandbox game. Not only is it a sandbox game, it's a sandbox game that has been receiving consistent updates for the past 12, 13 years. So keep that in mind. It's one of the most popular video games. I'm pretty sure doesn't it hold the top spot for like the most sold video game or something like that? And it's been receiving regular updates for the past 12 years. Okay. So I'm in creative mode. And you'll notice a couple of things. Number one is that if I move around here, you can see I collide with the world. Why? Just, quick question. Why can I collide with the world if it's creative mode? To me, it would make significantly more sense if you didn't have collision on by default. In order to be creative, it would make way more sense if I could move about the world in whatever way I please. Now, it does absolutely make sense in some situations to have collision enabled, right? Like if you want to test some physics thing and you want player collision to be enabled, that's fine. Make it toggleable, absolutely. But why is it on by default? That doesn't make any sense. This is a sandbox game that's been that's been receiving regular updates for 12 years. And you have collision on by default. It doesn't make any sense to me. But whatever, fine. They can do what they want with their video game. Inventory, I know they updated it a while ago. I don't really have many issues with the inventory except for this. This I haven't ever messed around with, but like that's probably my own fault. Anyway, there is a way to turn off collision. Oops, I did it wrong. I have to hit tab. There we go. By going into spectator mode. Ads are starting in just a second, so I might pause my rant here. Let me know when ads start. But you can turn off collision by going into spectator mode. Now, why they would hide that behind a command, I don't know, right? I understand the desire to have it toggleable. Don't understand why it's off by default and why you have to know a specific command. But you can do this. The only problem with being in spectator mode is that I'm clicking on this block right now. I'm looking at the block and I'm clicking. You can't interact with the world when you're in spectator mode. The only way to interact with the world is by turning on player collision. Why? Right? This game has been out and receiving updates for 12 years. Why do you have to turn on collision in order to interact with the world in creative mode? That doesn't make any sense to me. All right, I think ads have started, so I'm going to pause. All right. Let me know when ads are back, or when ads are gone. It says like 10 seconds, so I'll wait 10 seconds. The trees are on fire over here. Interesting. Anyway, I'm over here in the trees. Okay, I think we're back. Ads done. All right. So the last point that I made was that you have to enable player collision in order to interact with the world. So let's say I have a relatively large build that, takes up a lot of space, right? Let's say I'm behind this. Let's imagine these trees are like buildings or whatever. In order to get to the other side of my build, I either have to type in a command that turns off my player collision, fly over to the other side of my build, type another command to re-enable player collision, and then I can continue working. I can either do that, or I can try and navigate around my relatively large build, trying to my best to avoid bumping into things, and then I can interact. Why? Again, this game has been receiving regular updates for 12 years, and it is supposedly a sandbox game. Why? Why is that the workflow? Right? So, okay, collisions are enabled by default. They have to be on for you to interact with the world. Let me switch back to creative. Okay, so let's say I want to build like a couple blocks. I want to build a couple. There we go. I want to build a couple of blocks like in this direction, right? But like this, right? Something like that. It would make sense to me for me to position myself in a place where I can just like look straight ahead and place blocks and move to the side. And oh no, I have fallen. Which brings me to my next point. Gravity is enabled by default. That's point number one, that gravity is enabled by default. You have to either change your game mode to spectator, or you have to explicitly enable flying as soon as you spawn into the world, right? The other point that I just demonstrated is that if you're in flying mode, if you're in creative mode, and you just so happen to collide with the top part of a block, the game will automatically take you out of flying mode. Now again, I understand the desire to switch between flying mode and not flying mode. Sometimes you want to test things that involve gravity. That makes complete sense. But why would the game make that decision for you? Why is that not something that you get to toggle? Why does the game just arbitrarily get to decide when to enable gravity and when to not? There have been so many times where I've been trying to build something and I have to be extremely cautious about not touching the ground so that I don't have to re-enable fly mode. This is a game that has been receiving regular updates for 12 years, and it is supposedly a sandbox game. Why? Okay. On to my next point. Now, this is a problem that has been relatively solved in Bedrock Edition. The problem being that if I want to place a block right here, right on the edge of this block, let's say, I can't do that unless I get on the other side of the block and turn around and place it. Now, if I'm too close to it, again, we have player collision, so I can't actually place the block. I have to be, here. I have to be all the way back here in order to place it. In Bedrock, you can place that block. And I know there are mods that allow you to just, look off the edge of a block, and then it'll give you a little thing where you can place it. But in vanilla, you can't do that. Again, this is creative mode. Why do I have to A, enable player collision in order to interact with the world, and B, position myself in a very specific location so that I can do the correct interaction? This is a game that has been receiving regular updates for 12 years, and it is supposedly a sandbox video game. Why? I'm struggling here a little bit. All right, there are some chats that I haven't read yet, and you're right. Creative can be more of a nuance to me than survival, in that you're slippery and creative. True, the slippery thing is not part of my rant, but yeah, that can be a little bit annoying. At least you don't need to type in a command. F3 and F4 exist. What do you like to type? Oh. I knew this was the thing. I didn't know you could just F3, F4 it. Okay. Cool. So that does make it a little bit better. But yeah, still the need to actually switch game modes. And I'm going to do daylight cycle false, and then time set day. Okay, just so it doesn't get dark. And I'm trying to think, because I thought I had another point, but that might be it. But the whole thing is that this is supposed to be a sandbox game, and it's been receiving regular updates for 12 years. And there's just basic quality of life features that seem to be missing. And I don't think that that's a knock on Minecraft. I think Minecraft is designed very well for what it's for. I just don't think it's a sandbox game. I think they've had every opportunity to make design decisions that are beneficial to a sandbox game, and they have opted not to. I don't think Minecraft is a sandbox video game. Now, I also said that I think that Minecraft might not be a video game at all. And the reason that I say that is because if you take a look at the history of the updates of the game, I think it's relatively clear that they highly, highly, highly encourage things like mods, plugins, and custom servers. Which, like custom servers are basically just servers with mods and plugins. But I'm going to name 3 things here. I think Minecraft is very similar to Roblox in that it is not necessarily the video game, but it is the basis from which users can create their own video game experiences from. I think Minecraft is a simulation and a world generation algorithm with a couple of features slapped onto it to make it look like a video game. I think it is specifically designed so that users can customize their experience. And it is not necessarily intentionally designed to be played on its own as a video game. Now, you might be able to argue that it's a simulation game, but I still think there are significant differences between a simulation game and what Minecraft is. So there you go. End of rant. I think that Minecraft is a simulation, and I don't know that it is necessarily a video game. I think without mods, plugins, and custom servers, Minecraft would elegantly surf the fence that separates what is a video game and what is not a video game. But I think with mods and plugins and stuff like that, it's just a tool for people to use to craft their own experience from. Anyway, rant over. I rest my case. That's... Stonebot saw the word mug inside of the emote smug, and it decided to respond with a mug moment. That's funny. Anyway, there you go. That's my hot take about Minecraft. I feel like everybody's got one. Everybody's got thoughts and opinions about Minecraft, and there you go. There's mine. Oh, I forgot that it does this. Hang on. Let me show you this. So this is the folder where all of the command scripts go. So you can see I've got my test.py, which is this. Yeah, they all show up here too. I forgot that it automatically generates a script if there's a command. Oh god, now the name of the command is... Okay. What is it doing? I just want to scroll. Oh. Okay. So if it finds a command in the command manager that doesn't have a script, it'll automatically add a script for you. I forgot that I added that. Good points, and makes me think about it more. It would be nice for them to implement some quality of life stuff. I agree. But I don't think that they will, because again, we've seen update after update after update of them just adding more stuff to it, right? They added camels and a whole new biome that does basically nothing except add a dozen more blocks to your gray color palette. And it's just like, sometimes it feels useless, sometimes they add something that can help, but it definitely feels like they're just adding stuff to it. And to me, again, that aligns more with Minecraft just being a simulation and a basis for other people to make something out of, rather than a video game all on its own. My Minecraft hot take is that the end dimension and its contents should not have existed. Ooh, that's interesting. That, yeah, that's, hmm. I don't know whether or not I agree with that, but that's definitely an interesting take. Cause like I feel like they tried to make the end like a post game sort of, but it doesn't really serve that job well. Cause like other than the elytra, I mean, like what do you do after you get the elytra? You just like immediately go back to the overworld and create a bunch of redstone farms, right? I realize there's more to it than that, but like that's that's the argument that I could see for there not being an end. I think the one thing I like about the end is the credits poem. Has the credits poem changed over time? Because I feel like it's not the same as it used to be. I might be crazy about that. Because like I really liked the, I don't want to say original, but like the one that I saw when I was playing regularly a while ago. I really liked that one, and then I'm pretty sure they changed it, and I don't know how to feel about that. But yeah, at one point I did also like the poem. And like the boss fight is a cool idea. I think the Ender Dragon, the end, it's, yeah, it is Ender Dragon fight. I think that's a really cool concept for a boss fight, especially for Minecraft. Um, I think it allows for a bunch of different strategies, but it still requires significant effort, no matter what strategy you go with. Um, and whatever strategy you use is almost likely going to be a creative one. So I think it's very well designed. But like the outer end, it basically does nothing except give you an elytra. Oh, and I guess in shulker boxes, but I feel like those are just so tedious to get. And it doesn't really solve the inventory problem. It just kind of like gives you more inventory slots, but you also have to pull it out of your inventory, place it down, open it up, get what you need, mine it, pick it up again. You know, so it's like, okay, sure, it's extra inventory, but the steps you have to go to get it. Anyway, uh, yeah. So I'm wanting to add some more stuff to those cards in the UI other than just the name, but I think that's going to require a little bit more mental effort than what I have right now. So I'm probably going to end up calling it here. But yeah, I think we made surprisingly good progress. I was actually not expecting to get this far. I was kind of expecting to get stuck immediately. But at least we put text on the screen. I'll start my background music. I forgot to do that after I closed Minecraft. All right. Is anybody live? Ren, are you going live anytime soon? Woohoo, text! Do I have anybody to raid? Bunch of people in software development. There's some cool people in there. Nobody that I know, though. Negative, not till tomorrow. Okay. The elytras and shulkers are the things I hate most about the end, actually. I'll rant another time. Okay. I'm excited to hear your rant. But yeah. No raid for today, because I don't really want to raid anybody I'm not familiar with. But good stream. Thanks everybody for showing up. I appreciate you, as always. Have a good one. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Peace. See ya. Bye-bye.